Hey, what's up, good people? It's Jay Ray, the co host of Q Points, and I wanted to come to you because there are two really important ways that you can support our show. One is by subscribing to it wherever you listen to or watch your podcasts. Q Points is pretty much everywhere. The other thing that you can do is you can visit us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on Podchaser, and you can leave us a star rating. Please rate us 5 stars because you know you love Q Points. And on Apple Podcasts and on Podchaser, you can actually leave us a written review. It's not required, but it really does help to spread the word about the show, and it helps people to discover it as they're looking for new podcasts to listen to. We're always appreciative of you supporting Q Points. We thank you so much for all that you've done for us so far, and enjoy the show.
Greetings and welcome back to another episode of Q Points Podcast. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
And my name is Jay Ray, sometimes known by my government as Johnny Ray Cornegay III. What's happening, people, in the sunshine?
In the sunshine, Q Points is the podcast that drops the needle on Black music history, and this episode is going to be like no other. But first, I want to check in with you, Jay Ray, make sure that everything is good on your end. How are ya?
I am awesome, man. I am feeling really good. It's been a busy week. I had my final for the Air Amplify
Yes.
fellowship that I've been in on behalf of Q Points. And thank you, Sir Daniel, for coming and being in the room on Tuesday when I presented about the future of Q Points. So if you are a member of Q Points, and Sir Daniel, you don't know this yet. If you're a member of Q Points, I got the video yesterday, so I've already chopped it so our members and our day ones can see what the future of Q Points is because I have the video and the presentation. But thank you for coming and supporting and being in the room.
It was absolutely my pleasure. I felt like a proud parent. No, but seriously, I was really proud, and I was really impressed by your cohorts in the program, and a lot of great things are out there, and I can't wait for people to start recognizing not just us, but all the people who are putting in a lot of hard work and quality into their podcasts. And that's something that we strive to accomplish each and every episode, and I think you will agree. I think we need to just go ahead and get into this. At the time of this recording, this has been a very difficult week for the state of hip hop. We've lost, yet again, a couple luminaries in the DJ world. Specifically, earlier this week, I saw the notification from my good friend DJ Oxygen that his very good friend and producer of one of his EPs, DJ Paul Nice, passed away. Jerry Paul Nice produced one of my absolute favorite flip EPs, flip mixtapes. It was a mix CD of nothing but Sade flips. And when I tell you specifically, there's a flip of it's a flip of the of Snoop Dogg's "Drop It Like It's Hot" and Sade's "I Won't Pretend That I'm Not Forgiving." What song is that? I
Oh,
won't pretend.
that is I can't hate you though I have tried. That is Stronger Than Pride.
Stronger Than Pride. That's it. I look. I was gonna get to it, y'all.
Right.
Forgive us. Forgive us. We're the old heads in the room.
We had to
But
sing it.
we had to sing it, right? That's how we get to all memories these days. It's like you have to either sing it or rap it and be like, yeah, that.
Yes.
But So that's one of my all-time favorite flips, and if you hear me in a set sometimes I still throw that in there.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Nice was, like his name, he was nice with it. He his contributions to the culture are going to be deeply missed
Mm-hmm.
and celebrated.
Yeah.
So while we were getting over that, then we heard the news then that DJ Mr. C at the age of 57 passed away as well. DJ Mr. C, J Ray, and listeners, is a figure in hip hop that you hear about, but I don't think you all understand the gravity of the role he played in hip hop. Now, J Ray, he was introduced to you and I as the DJ for Big Daddy
Big Daddy
Kane.
Kane.
That's
Absolutely.
absolutely, Mr. C stepped to him.
Yes. Yep.
Get on down. That's how we got to know Mr. C, a Brooklyn legend,
Mm-hmm.
just coming up with Kane and the rest of the Juice crew, DJing for Kane, DJing for Shantae at times, and also producing mixtapes. We got to know him even further through the mixtape culture, and how his mixtapes, I'll never forget. He used to have this drop that would go, DJ Mr. C, DJ Mr. C, dun 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 dun. That's a reggae break, but
Yeah.
you had to be there. You literally had to be there and have those cassettes, and he really had an impact on us. But I think what we need to realize more, what he's recognized mostly for, is literally being the A&R, or playing the role of A&R, and getting his hands on the cassette
Yep.
of a unknown Brooklyn rapper who was like killing the battles in the streets
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot, and just killing the freestyle ciphers, and just making a name for himself, and bubbling to the point where Mr. C got a hold of this cassette, and the cassette got in the hands of the right people, including the Source magazine, who put an unknown rapper by the name of Biggie Smalls at the
Yep.
time, and put them in their unsigned hype article, which is a
Yep.
coveted spot in the Source magazine. And from then on, we all grew to knew this person as the Notorious B.I.G., and literally the rest is history. But I said all of that to say, J. Ray, that Mr. C, even after that, he was also a radio
Yeah.
personality at Hot
Mm-hmm.
97. So we're talking about, this man was literally carrying the culture on his back in several different
Yep.
aspects.
Yeah. Mr. C was a hip hop tastemaker in so many ways, right?
For
He
sure.
became an individual that you looked to in order to know what was coming up, kind of where hip hop was
Hmm.
headed. He played a role in that. Like, if you were able to get your joint, if Mr. C was able to play your joint, that was really important. And so me even not living in New York, it was interesting hearing stories about when, the radio station started to put more controls around the things that Mr. C could play, and da 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 da. You started
Right.
to realize, like, oh, this person has a lot of what this person says has a lot of power, and
Hmm.
this big entity doesn't necessarily want all of these things hitting the airwaves, because it could potentially change the trajectory of hip hop, and the powers that be want to be able to control it, right? So Mr. C as a figure in hip hop was just incredibly important. I am glad that in this moment of reflection, that we do get to kind of reflect on his legacy in that role. There was a lot of other stuff that, of course, we began hearing about from Mr. C in the last 10, 15 years. But I think it's important to understand his impact. And
Yes.
this is a huge loss for hip hop. I did not know about Paul Nice until getting ready to record this show with Sir Daniel. Like, it literally got by me. And so I think it is important that one, these folks get remembered for their contributions, but also that we are here, and shows like Q Points are here to remember the folks and their contributions, just kind of period.
Hmm.
Um, because yeah, the stuff can get lost. There's so much history that can get lost, and we're proud to do the work that we do to carry the mantle. And also want to say, send our condolences to the families of both Paul Nice and Mr. C.
Absolutely, and it's so it's like the universe really the universe got us, Jerry.
Yeah.
The universe has cue points because the topic of this particular episode um literally is fueled by the work of a DJ.
Yeah.
Um
Yes.
it absolutely is. So like Mr. C, and having an ear for talent and having the juice, as it were,
Mm-hmm.
to bring somebody to the table and say, this is dope. We need to put energy and people need to hear this. A young man by the name of DJ KG,
Mm-hmm.
who we were introduced to through Naughty by Nature, also took the from behind the turntables and got into the production end. Well, he was always producing for Naughty by
Naughty by
Nature.
nature. Mm-hmm.
But when Queen Latifah and Shakim decided to take things to another level and create the Flavor Unit label
Mm-hmm.
and brand, they created a compilation album that we discussed right here on
Yep.
Q Points. You need to go back and listen to that show. Roll with the Flavor Unit album that came out back in 1993,
93.
correct?
Yep. Turned 30 last year.
1993, turned 30. As I said in that episode, that was an album that came out when I graduated from high school. So it was literally the soundtrack to my summer
Yeah.
of freedom, as it were. And what a standout joint. We've got an album full of upcoming hip hop,
Yep.
um, up and coming and hip hop icons already on this compilation. Full of hip hop, full of swagger. But J Ray, the breakout hit was not a hip hop
At
record.
all.
The breakout hit was Hey Mr. DJ by an
Mm-hmm.
unknown duo by the name of Zhané.
Yep.
And that's the topic of this episode of Q Points Podcast. We're going to talk to you guys about Zhané because Zhané needs some props around here.
They do. They do. It is one of the things that Sir Daniel and I, as we were kind of just reminiscing on moments in time. Because one, it is the 30th anniversary of Zhané's debut album, Pronounced Jah-Nay.
Mhm.
And we were like, duos. There are duos on the hip hop side, right?
Remember the-
Yes. I remember the look, the short hair, all of the things, right? Um, there were plenty of duos. There's duos in hip hop today, but there's not really duos in R&B. You know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
in throughout time, really up until our current moment, there was always hip hop duos. So, like DJ Sir Daniel said, definitely go back and revisit the Roll with the Flava show, because we do talk about kind of Hey Mr. DJ and kind of this moment in time that gets encapsulated in this song in 1993, right? So, if you don't mind, Sir Daniel, I do want to. I had my brother, DJ Disco Disciple, actually send me the liner notes. So my brother, y'all should know, he has all of my old CDs. Like, if J Ray used to own it, my brother currently owns it, and it's at his house, because I left all my CDs here when I moved away from home years ago. So he sent me all the liner notes for the Zhané albums. One of the things I forgot about, Sir Daniel, is how the Zhané liner notes have the story of how the album came to be. And I do want to talk about that. Can I talk
Okay.
about this?
Absolutely. That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for. So listen. So this is why liner notes are important, y'all. Because, you know, you could get stories, you get history, you get context.
Mm-hmm.
So, like Sir Daniel said, Hey Mr. DJ comes out. Hey Mr. DJ becomes a breakout hit. This is unexpected, y'all. So KG is working with this duo. This song gets tacked on to this compilation album. Their name isn't even the same spelling as it is on their debut, right? So they have a whole different spelling of their name. It's spelled with a J because their name is Jean and Renee, Zhané, right? And Hey Mr. DJ comes out, becomes a runaway hit. And so they tell the story of, in these liner notes, they get signed to this deal. This is Motown Records. And they talk about most debut artists get to kind of record in relative obscurity, right? You record your album, the album comes out, it might hit, it might not hit, but you are unknown. You're just kind of in the studio recording this thing. Zhané doesn't have this luxury because the album didn't exist before Hey Mr. DJ comes out. So, Jean and Renee, thank you so much for illuminating this, Sir Daniel, because I didn't remember this history or know it in detail. So, Jean and Renee met at Temple University. Shout out to Temple. I'm an alum of Temple as well. They meet at Temple. They are singing together. Renee is writing these songs. Jean is singing with her. So, Renee got all these songs, right? Because that's what happens when you are like a musician. You just have a whole book of songs because you've been writing your entire life. They do this Hey Mr. DJ song because that was one of the songs that Renee had. It becomes a massive hit. Now they get signed to a label. Now they have to do an album, but they got to do the album fast because Hey Mr. DJ is running up the chart and they are performing now.
Everywhere. They are everywhere.
They're everywhere. They have a song. So, of course, Groove Thing is like the next thing. So they're like, okay, we got to get a new thing out. Let's go with Groove Thing. Groove Thing is next, right? So they talk about in the liner notes, and we'll make sure that we post them on Q Points platform so you can read them. They talk about how this album, while recorded under tremendous pressure, is also full of love because this is their moment. Like they recognize that this album is being recorded in their moment, right? So they have 2 hits back to back. And one of the notes, the last note that I'm going to make is they set the record up in the sequencing. So Zhané's debut record opens with Hey Mr. DJ, because that makes sense. That song came out like almost not quite a year, but almost a year before their debut. So they have like a full 12 months before their album comes out, right? Opens with Hey Mr. DJ, and then there's an interlude where KG is like, it don't matter nothing about that. It only matters what they're gonna do next, right? And song 1 set the stage for what we were gonna get, and that song was Vibe. And so the kids talk about vibes today, right? Vibes, vibes, vibes. Like that first song on the Zhané record, while technically Hey Mr. DJ is really Vibe. And they're talking about listen to the vibe. It's got you open wide, where you have these 2 women singing these gorgeous melodies over this hip hop track. And it sets the stage for Zhané's debut album.
Can we talk about really quickly back to KG, who this is before he created his own label, production company, Divine Mill, but his ear.
Yep.
His ear, like KG has had this, I guess, has this relationship in love to disco. Because Hey Mr. DJ is sampled by Michael White sample of Michael Wyckoff's "Looking Up to You,"
Mm-hmm.
which is a nice disco track. And then, of course, you've got Groove Thing,
Mm-hmm.
and so he's really tapped into this danceable energy
Yep.
that, but with a hip hop sensibility that marries quite nicely. It's like it's just all these ingredients that just come together and make a wonderful product. Specifically, and including Gene and Renee, because their chemistry is unlike any other. I remember the performances on like the BET shows, everything
Mm-hmm.
from Video Soul to what was the Madeline Woods show,
Video LP.
Video LP, and it would just be the two of them,
Mm-hmm.
you know, East Coast stomping and rocking
Yep.
out. But they had the cadence and the physicality of early Run DMC performances. Just the sync, everything was
Yes.
in sync, and we talked about their look,
Yes.
which was very, let's see, which was very rare at the time,
It
because
it really was.
I
It
take
really
that
was
back.
on a
They
pop
were on a pop
thing.
tip, because all the R&B girls, everybody was doing the freeze curls, the
Mm-hmm.
swoops. The '60s were a heavy influence, so people were doing the flips and whatnot, and big hair. Everything was big in the '90s. But Gina Renee went the opposite way. They
Yeah.
had low cut Caesars with waves. You know, I ain't never seen a do rag line on their foreheads. I
No
think
bonnets.
no bonnet. Renee actually had finger waves. Now that I'm
She
looking
did.
at, she had finger waves, and Jean had the low cut.
Yep.
And so that was a different look for them. That one is lighter complected than
Yep.
did I say complected? Has a lighter complexion than the other. That was such a '90s thing to
Yes.
say complected. I'm caramel complected. I'm
Right.
not gonna go there. But remember that. Remember
Yes.
those kind of stupid
I
conversations.
do.
Okay. So they already had people's attention
Mm-hmm.
just on the way they looked, and the fact that they could bring the flavor and actually sing was amazing. Do you recall that first time? I think it was like on Video LP, but they got on the piano
Oh yeah. Gene on that piano is a moment.
doing
Was it For a
uh
Reason?
everything happens for a reason. Yes.
I want to talk about that.
Yes.
Actually, can I real quick? I want to rewind. You know what? Let's just talk about For a Reason,
Okay.
because I actually think this is really important. So as I mentioned earlier, Renee in a lot of ways is kind of like the Ginsu master, because she was the person who had written all the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She was the person who actually here's Gene's thanks, and I think it describes it. Gene says in the thank you, I give thanks to Renee for her friendship and for believing in me, right?
Mm.
So Gene is on this first album, in this first kind of iteration, looking at Renee as like, oh my goodness, like I get the opportunity to do this with this person. You know what I'm saying? Who does this kind of writing and is kind of pulling this together. But here's what's so dope. For a Reason is my favorite song from Zhané's debut album.
Mm-hmm.
For a Reason is a Gene song. So all of the debut Zhané record is Renee, 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 Renee. For a Reason is Gene,
Mm-hmm.
where she gets on this piano. She lyrics and music by Gene Norris. She gets the opportunity to be on this piano. Renee is playing strings on the thing, on the keyboards. But it is just this acoustic moment that is very jazz, that distinguishes what Gene does from what Renee does. But it explains Zhané so well, right? Because Renee, when you listen to this record, it is very clear that Renee has like that R&B thing. She gets a hook, She knows how to put a hook together. She knows all of those things, right? And can like mold a song. And I think that's really important when you're trying to do like contemporary R&B music. You need to know how to write R&B songs. What for a reason is it's like a jazzy R&B song. And it's a different kind of style, but it explains why these two artists who look different, who emote differently, could stand on stage together at the same time and captivate us, because this was like the flat foot and singing era girls. You know what I'm saying? These girls knew how to sing. And on top of that, we're tapped into the moment. And real quickly, Sir Daniel, I think this is a thing too. The Zhané record came out when hip hop was smoothing out too. We were kind of coming out of the boom bap era, and R&B. Mary J. Blige had already happened by then. So
Oh yeah,
people had figured out, oh, I can really blend this R&B and hip hop thing. So hip hop starts smoothing out, and then R&B starts bringing in the hip hop elements,
correct.
and you get Zhané's debut album, where KG, weirdly, who's producing as Naughty by Nature on this record, he's not producing as KG, he's producing as Naughty by Nature, which is very interesting. And using Naughty Music as the publishing. Very interesting, right? But you get this moment in time where KG is like, okay, we need to bring this hip hop and this R&B together and create this moment in time.
You know, while you were talking, I was thinking about them, their marriage as a
Mm-hmm.
group, and how they were continuing a tradition of duos. And I couldn't stop. I couldn't help. Automatically, I started thinking about Ashford and Simpson,
Yes.
and how, and at times Roberta Flack and Donny Hathaway.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know, what kind of universal kismet comets are flying around at the same time to bring two people together with their own amount of talents, but when they get together, it becomes an even greater thing, and how much of a phenomenon that is in music, period. And that's even more reason why they should be celebrated, because we don't hear you don't hear Zhané brought up in a lot of conversations, and they should be. I think recently the reason why we wanted to talk about Zhané is because I've been seeing Renee performing a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, Mama is not doing any half-ass performance. She's out there like with the crowd. She's by herself,
Mm-hmm.
but because of the girth of their music and their hits, she can get out there and perform, and the audience is being Gene for her and
Yes.
picking up the slack for her, and I love that for her, because she is having a moment right now which I really appreciate for her, because with the 50th anniversary of hip hop celebrations last year, they got to recognize her. I know she came out with Queen Latifah in quite a
Mm-hmm.
few performances, and people are like, yeah, that you that
Mm-hmm.
music that you all did, that album, that was my freshman year of college, that was all
Yes.
the things, and you guys really painted and created a soundtrack for a specific time in my life, and I am so happy that she's experiencing that. But Jean isn't a slouch either musically. Jean and her husband
Yep. Yep.
have
The-
created a group
yep.
of their own, and she's honing in on her jazz experience. She has created a
Absolutely.
jazz
Yep.
experience like no other.
Yep. So you hit it right on the head, like, and it's also interesting cuz I had to really think about this. I don't know if this is true and I'm projecting at the moment.
Okay.
But um when I went back and I looked at the liner notes, because one, I haven't looked at these like the albums in a long time. You hear the songs, but I never looked at the liner notes in a while. And I forgot
First of all, can
Gene.
you see the liner notes? Because they were so tight. I don't know how we were able to read them back then. Oh, God bless good eyes.
Baby, God bless good eyes. I'm glad they on the computer, baby. I zoomed it. I had to zoom.
Yeah.
So, I had forgotten that Gene had written songs, and I'm like, oh, Gene gets to live off these songs.
Yes.
Baby, the beauty of songwriting, right, is you get the opportunity to continue. If you don't sign over your publishing and you do everything right, you get the opportunity, songwriters, to live off of your songs. Renee wrote Hey Mr. DJ and Groove Thing and Vibe and all of these songs, right? That 30 years later, we're like, yes, soundtrack to my life. She could still get a check. She could still get a check. Every time you hear Hey Mr. DJ on the phone, her and KG and who else? Who's the sample on this? I think Rod Tip. Yep, they all get a check. Amen. And that's what we want. So back to your point though about Gene and her starting the Baylor Project with her husband and kind of leaning into the jazz thing. I think that also explains the second Zhané album. So Saturday Night is the second album. Now we have a new thing that has happened. And this is the way music works, right?
Mm-hmm.
By the time Zhané's second album comes out, Sir Daniel, you remember this time. This is 1997, still on Motown, right? But Erykah Badu has already happened.
Yep.
Now hip hop, now the roots have happened, right? R&B, neo soul, D'Angelo's debut record has happened. All of these records have happened by the time Zhané's second album comes out. So
right.
the sound of R&B is now not only hip hop inflected, it's jazz, but it's old soul inflected. So you had all of that happening.
Well, we had Groove Theory too. Don't forget.
You had Groove Theory that happened. All of these. This is post Zhané. So 94, you got Groove Theory. You got the Roots. You got D'Angelo. You got Joy has happened, who changed the game and the sound, right? All the stuff that's happening in Atlanta has begun to Outkast has happened, right? So, and that's post Zhané's debut. So by the time you get to Zhané's second record, Erykah Badu's Baduism has come out like a couple months before that. So literally everyone's hair is on fire with what's happening now. Zhané shows up. Request line, it makes perfect sense that would be their debut. It harkens back to Hey Mr. DJ. Also produced by KG. Written by Renee. Same formula. Like the formula has not changed. The time is different though, right?
A lot of stuff has changed. The landscape is completely different at this point.
Foxy and Kim are on the scene from a hip hop perspective. The whole black music landscape looks different between 94 and 97. And Andre Harrell is over at Motown now.
Yep, exactly. And don't forget, we've got Changing Faces.
Yep. And all of these other duos post Zhané. Yep.
And they have a monster singer-songwriter behind them who shall remain nameless at this time.
Yep.
But so a lot of stuff has happened. And so at that point, you can either do one or two things. You can do something drastic and say, hey, look at us, we're still here. Or you can kind of fade into the background. And what they did was the aforementioned one. They changed their look.
Yep.
And Jerry, I remember specifically hearing people discuss the fact that Zhané has hair now.
Yep. It was weird. Like
it was like, oh, they've got hair. Like they've got, the big bundles of of
Curls.
what,
Yep.
the curls and the Bantu knots and
Yep.
all of those, still flavorful, still
Yep.
urban, still black, but they've changed their look. And some people have even had the nerve to say that because they have hair now, the sound is different and that their music has changed. Like you guys said a lot of reckless things back in the day, and I hope you remember that. We're here to remind you, like Alanis Morissette, you all said some reckless and crazy things about these women back in the day
They did.
because they added on a couple pieces, a 27-piece sewing to the look, and then they got glamorized.
Yep.
They were high profile. They were.
Budget
Do
is
you
higher.
do you remember they were in the in Big's One More Chance video?
Absolutely.
That was major. If
Yeah.
you get called for cameos and videos like that, you're on the A list. They were
Yes.
in the Bratz Give It to You
Yep.
video. So they're high profile now, just like you said. So high
Yeah.
profile means high budget. So that means stylists. And if you
Yep.
got Andre Harrell, who is very style driven,
Yep.
then of course things are going to change appearance wise and the way that they're trying to appeal to a demographic that is changing, that is getting older. As we always saying, the hip hop the landscape is being changed by hip hop a
Yes.
lot. Hip hop is the leading culture at this point, and so everything has to follow them. And then they made quite a few cameos on people's records. Like, remember the "It's a Party" with Busta Rhymes,
Mm-hmm. Yep. They
and
appeared on De La Soul's It's So Easy. I'm not It's So
yep,
Easy.
no.
Oh shoot, it's not coming to me, but it will. But they were on De La Soul. Stakes is High, which is one of my favorite De La Soul albums. But yes, so they were firmly in demand at the time.
Four
And
more. Four
yes.
more. That's the De La song.
Yep. And that was a year prior to this record coming out. I will say this. I forgot about this song. Interestingly, the Lox is on there because the Hitmen. So Pop and Vo from the Hitmen, of course, that was Diddy's in-house production team. They did Saturday Night on the Saturday Night album. And it was so interesting. Like, I'm like, they called this record Saturday Night, but this is really more of a jazz inflected R&B album. So that title was very interesting to me. But more of what I wanted to highlight really quickly is I think there needs to be justice for Saturday Night. This harkens back to Salt and Pepper's Brand New too, which came out the same year, where musically we were in this very interesting place, and they were doing something that was a lot more classic on this record. You're talking strong songwriting, lot more live instruments. So KG, like they got a band that they're working with and crafting these songs. Whereas the first album was a lot more sample heavy and beat driven. This is a lot more, these songs are crafted, for this album. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. Whereas album number one, like them songs have been written over years. So it's a lot more sophisticated of a sound.
Right.
But at a time when the music was actually doing, let me say that differently, where the music that was charting on the contemporary side wasn't necessarily doing this, right? There was a different sound that was hitting the charts, and this record was like, no, we're going to lean in. It was a little more, it was way more sophisticated. So I will say this though. What I absolutely love about this album is Jean is now here. Jean is here on album number 2. She's arrived. And it's a very long record. This record actually does sound like, to me, and I'm curious to know your thoughts, it does sound like we're doing our last album because it's really long. It's like 18 songs. But those last crop of songs are all Gene songs. Oh, some and I realized that I was that one who was into jazzy acoustic R&B. These songs were very beautiful. And
That was a
so
moment for you.
it was a moment for me. And so yes, I wish for justice for Saturday
Saturday.
night.
Listen, we have to cry out. We have to
Yes.
cry out for these gems that
Yes.
don't get the love that they deserve. And Saturday Night is just that. Zhané as a group
Mhm.
definitely is that group that we need to cry out for. And that's what Q Points is here to do. Q Points podcast is going to highlight artists that have made an impact on us and gave us a soundtrack. And
Yes.
Zhané is those girls. And like I said, I am so happy to see them out and about and
Yeah.
getting recognition.
Can we talk about something you mentioned? So I mentioned my favorite song from the debut album. What was your
Mm.
favorite song from the debut album? Because I know you have one.
Ooh, um, it's definitely Sending My Love.
Hmm.
Sending My Love is, oh my God. That's just, first of all, you got them singing over EPMD's You're a Customer.
Hmm. Hmm.
Da da dum, da dum,
Yeah.
da dum.
Dun-dun.
And then the longing behind it. If I could mail my heart
Mm.
right to you, I
You, I would,
would.
baby. That is
Whew.
if I could mail
Mail
my
my
heart right to you, I would. That is gorgeous.
so gorgeous, but also at that time, you know what was happening? DJs were getting acapellas. Acapellas were a part of these 12 inches. And so when you get a vocal like that to a
Mhm.
DJ, oh my God, the mixtapes were running crazy with Sending My Love because they were like, oh, this already you can tell what it's gonna sound like under a hip hop beat.
Mhm.
So everybody was doing their blends, and I shout out to all the mixtape DJs, the Bounce Brother was the Bounce Brothers, Doo Wop and Ron G, DJ Mr. C, Paul Nice, all of those people that would take these fantastic songs and take them to another level just because there's an acapella. An acapella is ooh, it's like crack to a DJ. If there's an acapella on a 12 inch, oh my God, prepare to be sick of that DJ. And labels, please give us acapellas and give us clean versions of the acapellas. If you want us to be able to play your music, give us these acapellas and give us clean versions. My guy.
Yes. I absolutely agree. Remixes, acapellas, the whole nine yards. Like, make sure that DJs have those things to be able to pull this together. Really quickly, I wanted to mention, and I've said this privately a lot, and I probably said it on the Rolling with the Flavor show, but I'm going to say it again because it bears repeating. Crushed by Zhané is one of the most beautiful songs that has ever been released, written. Shout out to Renee for just writing the hell out of that. And it's a tight 3 minutes. It is
Mhm.
3 minutes of heaven, and that is one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard.
Listen, it lives in my crates. It lives on. I definitely throw it into sets to this day. So shout out to Zhané for that, for their contributions. And man, maybe we could speak a performance into existence. Just a one night only kind of event where the world just stops.
I would absolutely go to the Zhané show. If they were doing a one night one, getting tickets to that would be nightmarish because both of these women, to your point, are still top of their game, able to do it. Being
Hmm.
able to get them on stage doing these songs in 2024, it's a wrap because these songs are timeless songs. So, really quickly on Saturday night, I just want to let people know Rendezvous, which was written by Gene. Wow. Just wow of a song. And that should have been the third single. They ended up releasing For the Longest Time as like the third single. I get why they would have done that, but also no, they could have just gone like one track later and done Rendezvous, which was a beautiful jazz song that, yeah. And by the way, shout out to R&B radio. If you have a Quiet Storm set and you don't have Rendezvous in it, you should put Rendezvous by Zhané in there.
And this
It's a perfect song for that.
and this is why you need cue points to be your A&Rs.
Right.
J Ray and DJ Sir Daniel are available to be to A&R your next project, to music, to be the music director of your radio station, all of the things. We're here to do it. J Ray, let the people know. You know what we didn't do at the top of this episode is we forgot to remind folks how they can support us and give us the accolades that we so deserve, and how they can buy merchandise like these dope hoodies that we're both rocking right now.
Absolutely. So listen, folks, go on over to well, first and foremost, thank you if you hear our voice, if you are watching us. That means you are doing the most important thing. We say it all the time because it's true. The most important thing is y'all tuning in and listening. Hit the subscribe button if you are not currently subscribed and you've liked the vibes. See what I did there? You like the vibes that you've gotten? You can subscribe to Q Points and you can get notified whenever we have a new show. um Definitely go on ahead and subscribe to our magazine, so Q Points magazine. We give you a lot of other information over there. We actually are going to do something over on Q Points magazine about duos, so you should definitely check that out over there. It's absolutely free to join. As Sir Daniel mentioned, we got merch like this. Slow jams can heal us, like stop tweeting, start rapping. You should head over to our store at store.qpoints.com and get into it. One other thing, I know you heard this at the top, but it bears repeating. Please leave us a review. Please leave us, if you're like, listen,
5 stars.
5 stars. You could just put the 5 stars in, but we would love it if you also left a review too. If you're like into this, drop a review. You can do it on Apple Podcasts and you can do it on Podchaser, and you can leave us 5 stars there as well as on Spotify. Sir Daniel, I know you know this, but I think it's really dope that as of right now, today, when we are recording this show, we are 5 stars on all the platforms.
Boom.
We are 5 stars on all the platforms.
As a poet laureate by the name of Sexy Red said, bow, 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 bow. 5 stars across all platforms. That's how we do here on Q Points.
I love that we got Sexy Red in to this Zhané show.
You know, we can't, there's no escaping it. There's no escaping it. But again, dope episode. This is what we do here on Q Points. We are so thankful for you for tuning in. But J Ray, what do I always say in this life? You have a choice. You can either pick up the needle or you can let the record play. Once again, I am DJ Sir Daniel.
My name is J Ray, y'all.
And this has been Q Points Podcast, dropping the needle on Black music history. We'll see you all on the next go round. Peace.
Bow, 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 bow.